All right, today we're going to do a jazz riff on thinking. How's that? It might be helpful to grab a pen and paper. There's quite a few things I want to define and draw some relationships between them. It's all experimental again. We're literally just kind of going out into rumination land, just trying out some ideas. As you know from some of my past vlogs, that I've been trying to come up with an idea of thought, of what it is, and it's become more pressing to me sort of as I've begun to really work on this idea of everything as mind, and therefore everything being a thought. So no matter what this world is, what aspect of this world that I live in, it is not a world, it's a mind, as we've talked about. And every aspect of it, including my identity in it, my role in it, and everything, is merely thought. My initial question was, what is a thought? Now this is my desk paper. I've used it to kind of doodle all over as I've tried to figure out these relationships. I'm gonna list them off for you. You can buy them or you can throw them away. This is just food for thinking. Thought is a perception of an object. An object is either sensory input, a memory, or a relation. And we'll cover relation more later. So thought is the perception of an object, and the object is either a sensory input, memory, or a relation. Perception is the whole perceived from a point. That one without a second, perceived from a point. That is perception. This point is arbitrary and is based on the current state of ego, which is an identification with a particular viewpoint or vista of the whole. When you record a thought or attach to a thought, two things happen simultaneously. One, it becomes memory, and two, it's assigned a relation with the other objects already collected in mind, as well as perhaps the sensory perceptions of the moment. When a thought gets recorded, when you don't just let it flow through with time, when you actually attach to it, you spend some identity with it, you apply some me and mine to it, it becomes both a memory and a relation. Without the relation, you wouldn't be able to remember it. You wouldn't be able to tie it into mind, because everything in mind is recalled and brought to the point of attention by the relation that it shares with the other recorded memories in the mind and objects, the three types of objects. Memory with a thought is a relation. If you have a stored thought and you apply it to the perception of an object, which is what a thought is, so memory with a thought is a relation, some determining relation or multiple relations between those two things. Memory with memory is also a relation. So if you're just sitting there pondering, you're not paying attention to the senses, you grab this memory and you grab this memory. Between those two, there is always a relation. And what we call conventional learning or conventional knowledge is the relations between objects brought to perception in the moment, brought into thinking, brought to thought. A collection of these relations, if you know them to be true or have taken them on as being true, they are ego. They are the small I. So your collection of relations between objects that have at some point become thought and stored and placed in relation with the rest of the objects stored within mind is the current state of ego, which determines the perception to begin with, okay? We've got the ego is that point of view. Now the point of view is ego without the full attachment of me and mine. So you're trying out an idea, but you haven't adopted the idea, right? So you're thinking about something, but you have not accepted it as an axiom. You have not fully identified with it. It is not one of your truths. So you've got ego, which is that axiom that you've accepted as truth and put me and mine fully in gear with it. And then you have points of view, which are lesser perspectives that you are not yet fully convinced of, that are not a part of the I. And those are usually considered part of the outside world, whereas those things that you accept as axioms are part of your inside world. Anything with a direct relation to ego, to the point of perspective, is your inside world. Anything that doesn't have that full connection just yet, but is a teetering connection, that has to do with outside of self. And a null object is an empty sensory input. Okay, now why is that there? Because a null object combined with memory is a desire. So what I'm saying there is that you as your current state of perspective have grabbed a memory and you have combined it with a thought of a null object. So your memory of pizza, your perception of the moment, your sensory perception of the moment is null when compared with pizza because there's no pizza in it. Now you have a desire for pizza. And then we've talked how that projects future. So that's the condition of mind. That's what's going on in your mind all the time. Now, in this whole framework, your mind, or the mind, is only ever doing two things: noticing difference and categorizing. So noticing the difference is caused by the sense of ego, which is the sense of separation from the whole, right? It's the point from which the whole is perceived. That's where we started from. And that point, when it perceives a part of the whole from that make-believe separation state, that is a thought. Okay, and so it tumbles all the way through. So your mind is separating everything from itself, because once it separates an identity from the whole, then it separates everything into objects according to that perspective. The odd thing is it tries to put it all back together again. And the glue for putting it all back together again is relation. That's the part where it categorizes. So everything, though it is separate, has an implied unity because the thought has pulled it from the singular, from the singularity. So it has an implied unity. And the function of the mind is to take these disparate differences that it's made up because of its identification with the point of perspective of ego, and then recreating the sense of unity out of it by determining how all of these things are related together. That is my not so final and certainly not mature opinion of our experience of being in the deluded state. To chew on it for a while and hand me back your thoughts on it, if it's worthy of any. I don't even know. This is the brain toy of the moment, so take it as you like it, think about it, and please share anything that I didn't see, or something you don't understand, or something I don't understand, and let's see where this goes for the fun of philosophy.